Hello, everybody. Welcome to the InduSoft Web Studio webinar covering version 7.1 Service Pack 2. My name is Scott Courtier, and I'm the technical evangelist for InduSoft, promoting InduSoft and our technical capabilities and what we have to offer as a product. Today we're going to present the upcoming release of Service Pack 2 for version 7.1 that should be out within a couple of weeks. We don't have an exact date set. We're going through some of the final testing stages and working everything out and make sure that it's a good product for everybody. So again, maybe within the next week or two, give or take a week. So that's what our estimates are right now, but again, we don't have an exact date. Looks like we have quite a few people in attendance, just some logistics as we get moving on. We don't have a way to hear you the way this webinar is set up. We can answer your questions via the Q&A panel within WebEx or the chat window. But as always, if you have questions, feel free to email us, contact us on our website, call us, whatever the case may be. We'd be happy to answer your questions. Today, what we're going to cover is quite a bit of information in Service Pack 2, quite a lot of new features. Typically, within InduSoft, we take the service packs as a way to not only fix bugs, but to launch some small new features. Well, this time we went all out. In Service Pack 2, we're going to get a lot of new features in here, in addition to bug fixes. So typically patches or bug fixes only. Service packs are bug fixes with some enhancements, and then major new releases come after that. So being that this is within version 7.1, for those of you who have 7.1, with or without Service Pack 1, you can upgrade to Service Pack 2 free of charge. Once it becomes available, it'll be on our website, and hopefully all of you have seen our new website. You don't have to register anymore every single time you want to download. Now there's a register, and now you can log into the website with a username and password and get right to the download section. So we made that easier for you. We've listened and made that easier for you. We're going to cover quite a few different features, new development system languages, some graphical enhancements. There's 4 or 5 of those. A new VBScript debug mode. In fact, that is such a powerful feature. We're going to have an entire webinar devoted to that in just a few weeks, so look forward to that being announced here shortly. We're going to talk about new alarm custom fields, the server capable license. So instead of licensing a soft key or a hard key, you can license a server and then pull the licenses from that. We'll talk about collaboration, server enhancements, and multi-touch improvements. We'll talk about the tag database functions and the fact that you can now add tags on the fly during the runtime while you're running. We can do that. There's 25 new built-in scripting functions to support that. We'll talk about the new XML screen import toolkit that we have, and tag integration and some new drivers that we have, some additional interfaces and tag integration there. Worksheet filtering, and last but certainly not least, Studio Mobile Access or mobile access enhancements and what we're doing there. So let's get started. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to put those in the chat window or the Q&A window. I can't always notice them while I'm working and typing here, but if I pick up on those, I'll try to answer those as I can. So let's talk briefly about development languages. There's a couple of new development languages in the product. In the past, we have had some multiple languages that you can include during the install, and now we've added, I believe, Russian and the Taiwanese version of the Chinese language. Now these are all for the development environments, and you can change. That will change all the menuing and all the wording in the properties boxes and things of that nature. You've always been able to, or at least for a long time, support multiple languages in any language that's supported by Windows in the runtime, but these are new development language options here. So we have now Spanish, Russian, Portuguese, German, French, English, and Chinese as well. So hopefully that works for you guys out there. And let's see, let's go on to the next section, which is graphical enhancements. We've done quite a bit there. There's 4 different topics that we're going to talk about. Bitmaps as linked pictures is the first topic that we're going to talk about. And bitmaps as linked pictures, in the past we've been able to have linked pictures or pasted bitmaps or pasted pictures. And now we've kind of combined those two. We're giving you the option to combine those. So let me show you what I mean by that. In the past, let me create a screen here. Hopefully everybody can see InduSoft Web Studio running. Let me go ahead and create a screen, and I'll just use all the defaults. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up a picture that I have as part of this project. And let's see, afternoon webinar. I'm just going to open up test.jpg here with Microsoft Paint. And once we have this in a third-party tool, maybe I've developed this in Photoshop or Paint, I'm going to select the entire object, and let's see. Why can't I select this here? Let me try this with a different file format. Interesting. I'm not sure why I can't select that. Don't save this. I'll try this with PNG, let's say. So I will open with Paint and see if I can select that. Yeah, I'm not sure why I couldn't select that JPEG. You know, let me go back and give that one a try because there's a specific thing that I would like to show there. So we will open with Paint, select, there we go. Select all, copy, and then go back to InduSoft Web Studio and paste this. I could do Control-V, but just to see that I'm pasting that on the screen. Now what this does is when you copy from the clipboard and paste, in the past, what this has done is put a bitmap on the screen. Now for new applications, what we're going to do is automatically enable this preference here called Save Pictures in Separate Files. And I'm going to turn that off. It's going to give me a warning there. And I'm also going to turn off Enhanced Graphics. That'll come up in just a minute. But when you open new, older applications, they will default to opening the old way without saving pictures in separate files and without enabling Enhanced Graphics. So now if you watch, now that I've turned that off, if I paste that bitmap in again, it's a little bit different. It's the way that it used to be, which is a bitmap that I can select a transparent color with this extra little tracker here. And if I enable that, then I can move this tracker around and select which color I want to be transparent. Well, now what we've done is we've added a different way, and I'll go back and do this again. Here under Project Viewer, I will enable the Save Pictures in a Separate File. And now when I paste, what this is going to do is paste this into the resources file that is under the web subfolder. So I'll show you where that's at. That's here under the web subfolder of the project under resources. What it has done is it's taken a checksum of that file. All the bits and colors and everything that's in that file add up to this checksum. So what we can do is we can tell if the user is pasting another object that looks the same, exactly the same, within that screen, within the application. And then rather than pasting 3 separate copies of the picture, like I did over here, what it does is it only keeps one copy out in the resources folder and references that one. That keeps this a lot more efficient, keeps your applications smaller, and it can improve thin client performance and embedded Windows CE and embedded operations because it has less overhead to keep memory of those bitmaps. So that makes it much more improved. It's much more efficient, and now we've added also the capability to be able to rotate linked pictures, where in the past we weren't able to rotate linked pictures, only pasted in bitmaps, so now we can do that as well. Another thing that's been added is some more transparency options, and including some more transparency options with PNGs as well. I'll show you those. The different transparency options that we have here is, in the past we had this tracker like I showed you on this object where we could move this tracker around to pick the transparent color. Well, in addition, now we have not only the tracker but we also have color code. And in color code, you can use the RGB or the decimal variation of the number that represents the color. For example, 0 would be black. And if I do that, you can see the black line in here becomes transparent. If I wanted to use, let's say, red or green or blue or some color out of the 16 million colors plus that we support, we would have to know the decimal variation of that. We can also use a built-in function within InduSoft Web Studio that's called RGB color, and then within parentheses you can put 3 variables or 3 constants that represent the color. In this case, I'm going to do 255, 0, 0, which will represent red, green, blue, or red, no green, no blue. And when I use that, you can see that the red color goes transparent. That can be dynamic, and that can be changed, either the decimal number in here. Notice that this is not only a tag, but this can be an expression, so you can change dynamically the transparent color on the fly. Another thing that we have is in addition to supporting bitmaps or pasted in pictures as linked pictures, we now also support transparency on PNG files. So if I go back here to my PNG variation of this graphic, it has that center green portion set up as transparent. And when I bring this in, you can see that it already has that transparency applied as brought in from the PNG file itself. But in addition to that, we can also change the transparent color with either the color code or the tracker. So now we can have essentially 2 different colors as the transparent. So we can have the background or the transparent portion that came in with the JPEG. It doesn't have to be the background, it can be any color for that matter, and the one that you select with either the tracker or the color code. So some nice variations thereof. A question that came in is, can pictures be dynamically linked or programmatically exchanged? Yes. What you would do here is, in this linked file, you would put a string tag that would allow you to change the name of the file, and you could point to different files as the case may be. So hopefully that answers your question. Let's see. Moving along, and color codes can be dynamic. That's what I just showed with the RGB, or you put a decimal number in there, and some more transparency options. Okay, so moving along. Another feature that we've done is with shapes and buttons, specifically the OS and the standard type buttons. We've improved the drawing capability of this, and we've done what's called anti-aliasing. This picture represents the old way, this picture represents the new way. And if you just take a look at the shapes and ignore the graphics for a moment, what I mean by this anti-aliasing is, if you can see up here these stair steps, the stair steps are a way to, or the current way that is shown in InduSoft Web Studio, and now with the new and improved, you don't see that. You see all these as nice smooth curves, nice smooth lines here, and it's much more improved. What I wanted to show you with this graphic is we have some new transparency options that I'm going to show you in just a minute. So here's an example of that, and I'll do that live, real time. The feature is disabled for old applications, and what I mean by that is, what I tried to show earlier, is that when you open up an existing project that was developed in a previous version, what's going to happen is this enhanced graphics is not going to be checked. For new applications, it's going to be checked from here moving on. So we don't make any changes to your applications that are unwanted. But once you develop a new project, or if you check that checkbox, then what's going to happen is those anti-aliasing features are going to take place. So, it is enabled in the viewer settings that I just showed. It's not supported on Windows CE or embedded, but for desktop and server operating systems, it's supported. So I'll show you this live in real time. Let's go ahead and turn that off. And I'll draw just an angled line so we can get a good understanding of how that chops that up. Let's get, there we go. We got some big stair steps in there. And now what we'll do is we'll go ahead and turn that on. And in viewer here, we'll check the checkbox, and now what we'll see is that nicely smooths out. So, okay. Thank you for answering the question. You're welcome. Let's see. let's see, a question came in is what happened if you check the anti-aliasing and then deploy to Windows CE? Because Windows CE does not support it, so you'll just see the objects as they were before. Let's see, another question. What happened? Is there any issue if the checksum bitmap file gets corrupt? I'm not sure what happens if it gets corrupted. It shouldn't get corrupt, but what happens is you can. There are ways that you can change the name of that bitmap, but we don't recommend it. It's a way that we can keep track of what files are already there, and if the thing that you're bringing in is a similar or not similar, an exact representation of that. So if you change the name of that, there are going to be some issues. There are some ways to do that, but again, we would recommend against that if you can help it. Let's see, moving along here to the next section is support for EMF or enhanced metafile or WMF file types and improved PNG. I already showed you the improvements to the PNG, which is the transparent color comes through. I do have an EMF file or a couple of different EMF files, so let's go ahead and bring those in. Let's go to graphics, linked picture, and out here within the project file I've got a gear and I've got a cube that I did. Let's go ahead and bring in the gear, and now what you can see is that because this file is actually a vector type file, I can make changes to this and it does not lose much of its or any of its drawing as well. Now, something else that I have, I'm going to go ahead and delete this, and I'm going to also bring in, I developed in a third-party graphics program this cube, and I exported it as EMF file type. So you can see that I brought that in. Now, I tried this earlier. I think this should work. This is actually a full 8.5 by 11 page, so I'm going to reduce this down a little bit and make this smaller so you can see that we're not losing anything or losing any resolution there. What I'm going to, I just wanted to show you that we can bring those files in now so that those are supported. The EMF and the WMF file types are vector file formats, so we can do that. A new feature here is what we're calling the visibility animation. Some of you may refer to it as transparency. What we used to have in the past is here under animations, we had an animation that was called position. And under position, not only was the position animation where you could change horizontal and vertical position, but there was this field up here at the top that was formally labeled show on condition. Show on condition, if this field evaluated to false, the object would hide. If it evaluated to non-zero, it would evaluate to true, and therefore the object would show. Well, we've kept that compatibility by keeping this 0 and 1 capability, but we've enhanced it a little bit. We've renamed this field visibility, and now what you can do, let me go ahead and put a tag in here. I'll just call it viz. And instead of being a Boolean, you can now put a real type tag in there. And what it'll allow you to do is give a value between 0 and 1 that'll be essentially the percentage of transparency that it is. Let me go ahead and grab a symbol out of our library. We'll put a slider here. You know what I'm going to do is I'm just going to back out of that for a second and just put a text here on the screen. We'll call it viz and put pound dot pound, and we will make sure that this is tied to that visibility tag so I don't mistype it. I'm going to go in here, go to project and grab it so I don't accidentally mistype it, and use the input enabled, and I could set minimum and maximums if I wanted to, but for the sake of this I'm just going to leave that for there. And when I run this, let's see, make sure that I have the visibility there. I have this, I have input enabled. That's all I should need. Let's go ahead and save this screen as main, and we'll close it and set this up as the startup screen. And when we run this, now you can see that it's set to 0, so the object is gone. If I set this to, let's say, 0.5, then it's 50% transparent. Well, you can't really see the transparency very well unless I put something behind it. So let's put a rounded rectangle. We'll move that to the back and kind kind of stick this out here. We'll make another copy over here just so you can see this. And we'll run again. Now you can see that it's transparent and you can actually see through that. We want it, let's say, a little bit more transparent. We'll do 0.25. And it even goes a little bit more. We can bring that almost to visible. Let's do 0.9. You can still see a little bit of transparency through there. Something to note is if you put this on an object that has a command animation on it, if the object is transparent or completely shown, let's say it's 1 and it has a command animation on it, it will work. If it's transparent at all, it will still work, even if it's 50% or even 10% transparent. You can just barely see it. Hopefully that's coming through on the webinar okay. If you have a command animation on that, it will still work. But if the object is hidden completely at 0, then the object will be gone and therefore it will not work. So even if it's just a little bit percentage shown, it will work. And if it's set to 0, it will then be gone or hidden and will not, it's not that it won't work, it just won't be there to be enabled. So just wanted to point that out to everybody. So let's see, the position animation has been renamed to visibility and position. It's a percentage between 0 and 1. It's not 0 to 100. It's between 0 and 1. As I demonstrated, it's 0.5 is 50%. Anything outside of the range of 0 to 1 is visible. So it could be 10, could be 100, could be negative 10 would make it show up. 0 is the only thing that's false in this case and will make it invisible or hidden. This works on shapes, text, buttons, and only the OS and standard type buttons, and pictures as well. So we can change the visibility of pictures as well. Let's, one other thing that I wanted to show back in the graphics, I wanted to also bring in one of the PNG files that I had, which is a bottle. I did this in one of the previous webinars. This has a transparent background on it, and in a previous webinar I actually put filled an object that was the outline of the bottle. Maybe we put some wine in here, let's say, and let's click on this and put a dark colored wine, put this behind this, and then make this transparent. We'll set this up for the transparency here, visibility, and maybe make this 0.3 transparent. And now when we run, I can see that through that bottle. So that's a way that you can use that as well. By doing what we've done, by keeping the 0 and 1 as hide and show, we've retained compatibility, which is pretty nice. The fact that all your existing applications will work just as they did, and now you can add this as you need to get transparency if you want to. If this is in a group, the settings will be multiplied together. So for example, if you have one of 3 objects in a group that has transparency applied to it, you group it, and then apply transparency, or I should say visibility, to the entire group. Those 2 values will be multiplied together, and the objects within that group will take on that level of transparency. This is not supported by CE or embedded as well, but we think these new enhancements are going to greatly improve what you can do with the applications. So let's see, is there a lower limit on visibility percentage? I believe, I'm sure there is some type of limit, but I believe that it's fairly low. So for example, we can do like 0.0001. I think it's still there, but I don't know what the practical limit is. I don't know if there's a whole number or a 0.1 or a 0.11, or how far the accuracy goes out there. Let's see. I'm being told by one of our developers that there is no low limit. So, even if there's some very small fractional part of it, it's still there, even though you might not be able to see it. There was a question that came in a few minutes ago about does InduSoft Web Studio support SVG images? Currently, the answer is no. And another question is, and I think I answered this already, I'll just make sure here. Let me go back up. That anything outside the range of 0 to 1 is visible. So anything above 1 and anything below 0, so for example, -1 is the same as 1, so it's the same as visible. So -1, -10, -100 is the same as visible as well. Okay, so next feature, VB script debugging. Nice tool that we've been looking at for a long time and customers have asked us for. These new tools will be in Service Pack 2. And if any of you joined us after we started Service Pack 2, we plan on having out in a couple of weeks, give or take a week. We're doing some of the final QA testing on it now. And we don't have an exact release date, but look for it soon, within the next couple of weeks, give or take a week, here or there. So hopefully that answers some of the questions. One of the questions that came in, this is a very good question, maybe I wasn't very clear. No visibility, show or hide in Windows CE at all. The show and hide still work. What's not going to be enabled in Windows CE or embedded is the transparency portion of that. So the show and hide will still work in Windows CE. Hopefully that answers your question. Back to VB script debug tools. We're going to now have breakpoints on global procedures, script tasks, background scripts, graphic script, and screen scripts. You're not going to have it on the scripts that are within objects or ActiveX or .NET. We can do breakpoints, step in, step out, or step over subroutines or functions. And there's some new database SPY tabs, which I'll show you in a minute. And you can choose viewer, background, or both. And new line numbers along the sides, and it's your choice. It's optional to view those or not. So just FYI, we're going to show this much more detail in a future webinar. So look for that, those details to come here in the next few weeks. And we'll have that available to give you more detail than I'm going to have time to show you here. So let's try to show you this. Here, let's go take a look at the startup task. And first note down here, these are new tabs that are available in Database SPY. Local, those are variables within the VB script, the stack frame, and then the, move this out of the way here, the tasks frame as well. So let's go in here and add a startup script. And when I add this startup script, let's just say I have some new variables in here, some VB script variables, and I'll declare those. Let's say I have temperature, pressure, and level. And again, I'm only going to get into the basics. We're going to do this in much more detail in a future webinar. But now that I have those VB script variables, what I can do here is let's just add some values for temperature. And we'll set this to 1. I'll do level. And I'll set this to 2. And I'll do pressure. And I'll set this to 3. Then what I'll do is, a little bit further on down here, I will change the value of temperature to, let's say, 55.5. Now, what I'm going to do, notice the line numbers here. If I want to see those line numbers, I can automatically see those, or I can, in my view here, I can turn those line numbers off or on. And then also here in the, let me add one more thing. Let me just add a VB script message box to display something. Let's just say I am here. And now, if I want to set the breakpoint of where I want this to stop, let me go ahead and just save this, and I'll come back into it. I went ahead and ran there, but let's now set this breakpoint. Oh, because I'm running here. Let's set this breakpoint here. I'll mark that breakpoint, and to turn off the breakpoint, I would just click on it again. So I'm going to set this breakpoint, and when I run this application, instead of running in normal mode, you would run in debug mode. Do I have a screen here? I already do. So what I'll do is I will run this in debug mode, and notice you have the choice of debugging the viewer or the background tasks, and you can enable or disable those independent of each other. So I'm going to run this in debug mode. And when you run this in debug mode, one of the things that we've done is we've made the project so it does not run full screen. And what that's doing is it's notifying you that it's running in debug mode, because what we would want you to not do is have set breakpoints that you might not see until you've been running for a while. So we do this so that it's actually a feature to make you notice, ooh, I'm running in debug mode. So notice that. Now what I'll do is while that's running, I'm going to go back to the development environment, and you can see that right here, its breakpoint has stopped me right here at this point. And you can see that at this point I have not assigned this value to temperature. You can see that here in the locals area, my VBScript variables are currently empty, and they're a user-defined type, which is the type variant instead of real or Boolean or double that VBScript can have. It's set those up as type of variant. So once I walk through this or step through this step by step, you can see now it's set that temperature to 1. I'll step into this, and now it's set level to 2, and then pressure is 3. Notice that I can use my mouse cursor, and when I hover over one of the VBScript variables, it shows me the value. Notice here that even though temperature was defined up here as 1, and we're going to, and we have not yet assigned it to 55.5, notice that the temperature value is still 1, which we can see down here. Notice that each one of these is integer type now. That type has changed. If I go one more step further, you will see now that it has assigned it to 55.5. I can hover my mouse over here and see 55.5, and notice that that has assigned it to double type. So this is a nice feature that will allow you to debug very nicely, and now if I do one more step, it's going to put the I am here on the screen. So again, the step into, step over, and step out of would be for functions and subroutines, and we're going to get into that in much more detail in future webinars. One of the things I'd also like to point out, let me go ahead and run this again, is that while you're running, you can not only see the VBScript variables, but you know which background tasks are running. And here's the startup script, and then the tasks frame shows me which one I'm in and which one is running here. So we'll get into that in much more detail in future. Let's see, we're good there. And the line numbers, backgrounds, and again, more to follow in the future webinars. So hopefully that's added some new tools that you'll find very powerful. One question that has come up is there a grep search type function or capability within the scripting language? There is not an overall search type function, but you can, because these are really just text files, you can copy these out to a text file. I believe that these are also stored, and maybe I can poke at one of the developers to help me out here, but I believe the scripts are stored in the project as just text that you could possibly search for inside of those. So I'll wait to see if somebody helps me out there, but there's no search type function within the scripts within InduSoft Web Studio. You'd have to do something externally. Moving along to the next feature, alarm custom fields. What we're doing now is customers have requested more fields and the ability to customize the fields or the columns that you can use within alarming. So let me show you this. Let me create a new screen here called Alarms. And when I put the alarm event control object on here, I just want to show you this before I make these changes. Here in the alarm event control object, we have these columns that are currently here, which is the acknowledge required, the activation time, the tag name, and the message field. Well, the message field is something that you can search on. There's also another field that we've had called selection. Selection is a customizable field that's only 7 characters wide. It's alphanumeric, so it doesn't offer a ton of flexibility. It offers you some, but being 7 characters and alphanumeric, it was restricted a little bit, let's say. So I wanted to show you that there's no custom columns in here yet, but what I'll do is enable this here under Project, under Options. Notice here that there's custom fields for both alarms and events. I can change this value anywhere between 0 and 10, and let's just, for the sake of this, I'm going to add 5 in here, and now it will have 5 custom fields. And of course I have to, sorry, I forgot to save all this. Let's do this as alarm, and make sure that the project's not running. And then we'll go back in, and here under Options, we'll change this to 5. Say OK. Oops, I thought I wasn't running. Let's stop. There we go. There's my little message from my... okay, so now I'm stopped. And one last try here. Let's go into... if I keep missing it here. Here we go. So set this to 5. Say OK. And now, here under Alarm, Event Control Object, here under Columns, you can see now that we have those 5 new columns. The nice thing is you can use this label field. Let's say I wanted to call this tank value. And now, now that I have that in there, I can add this, and it will show up on the Alarm Event Control Object as tank value or whatever I put in that for that label. This acts pretty much like the message field. What it does, what these custom fields offer you, is instead of the 7-character selection field that you've had in the past, now each one of these can be up to 1,024 characters long. So that offers quite a bit of flexibility. Those will get logged in the database as well. And let me show you one other place that that affects. When you configure an Alarm worksheet, now that I've added those custom fields, you can see that it adds those into the Alarm worksheet so that you can add those to the how those show up there. Let's see. Moving along to this. Also one more thing that I wanted to show. I just mentioned that it's available after adding to the project settings, so I did that here. I set that to 5 before it shows up. And you can also use that as in the filter expression. Hopefully everybody has watched the videos or the training videos or knows about this, but one of the things that we have to offer here in the advanced selection is these runtime dialog triggers where you can set up, if you toggle these values, you can change the columns or change the filtering of this at runtime. If I wanted to show the filtering in here, the messages or the filtering expression as an example, I can use those custom columns similar that I can use like the messages, and we've got some examples that I've shown in the PowerPoint slide. So if you have that custom 1 equals perfect match and custom 10 equals starts with star, all in single quotes there and there, then you can use that during runtime to filter what alarms or events you would show in that object. And this is where some real big power comes into this and allow you to filter the alarms that you want to see or the events that you want to see within that. Okay, so again, we're going to cover the next feature here, license server, so that you understand this. I've done a couple little graphics. Now, when you run the register tool, there's instead of just the hard key or soft key, now there's an option for license server. We have some new licensing modes here. When you enable the server, what this allows you to do is pull this drop-down down, and now you can choose whether you want just the local license, that would be your hard key or soft key that you've enabled on your USB key, your parallel port key, or on your laptop or desktop itself, or you can choose local network, network local, or network. And these are kind of the priority or the order that it would look for the license. So for example, local network would look for the license locally. If it can't find it, then it would go to the network for the license. Or vice versa, it would look for the network first and then look locally if it couldn't find one there, or just look at the network. One thing to note, if you have a network license server set up, and let's say you wanted to go automatic, it would automatically find that, but that would have to be on the same subnet as what your PC was. And once you do that, there's a test button there. You can see if the license server is there. This is meant for internal engineering teams. The design of this, the audience or the customer for this was engineering teams that might have 3, 4, 5, 10 people developing a project, co-developing projects or InduSoft Web Studio. And rather than having licenses or keys that they're passing back and forth, now they can point to the license server using this method and then use that key and then give it back when they're done, and then somebody else in the engineering team can get at that. What it is not meant for is field engineers that are leaving and coming and going and doing field work that will work to some degree for that. What we've done is we've set up a grace period so that engineers that pick up and go can work for a little while while they're not connected to the network, and we call that the grace period. And I'm not going to tell you exactly what the grace period is at this point. We'll probably have that in the documentation. But in general, if you have used up to that grace period or not used up to that grace period, you can come back in and plug back into the network, let's say, and then as long as you stay connected to the network for that grace period, then it will essentially recharge your license or be able to use it again remotely. So that's not its intended use. Field engineers are not the intended target market. It's really meant for an internal engineering team. So hopefully that's understood, and hopefully that's a good feature for you. Collaboration server enhancements. We have a collaboration tool built into the product for a while now, and what we've done is we've enhanced the performance of that. Now, that tool allows multiple people to work on the same project. So maybe one could be developing screens, somebody else is developing scripts, and somebody else is developing drivers or driver worksheets, let's say. And the collaboration server kind of works like a librarian, allowing you to check in and out pieces and parts of the project. We haven't really added any new features to that, but we've increased the performance of it, so it makes it even more usable than before. Our own internal integration or consulting services groups use this when they work on projects together. So it's a very nice feature that we have. If you'd like more information on it, take a look on the website or give us a call or contact InduSoft directly. We've also had multi-touch in the product since version 7.1, and we've enhanced the performance on that. If you didn't know that we've had multi-touch, this will work on Windows 7, Windows 8 natively, and supports as many touch as Windows will support. I think I have a Windows 8 tablet here that will support 10 touches. So some will support 2, some will support 5. It really depends on the hardware. We will work with any of the amount of touches that you can provide. There's a demo that we have, not a demo, but part of the training videos. It's the last training video, number 39 in the list, that show you that. And we also have a promotional video on our website if you'd like to take a look at that as well. Let's see. A couple quick things going through here. Somebody pointed out to me as far as the I believe it was on the collaboration server that we've also added features to enhance the use of it in the cloud as well. And this would be useful if you didn't want to host or have the project on your own server. You could host that so remote workers could add it a little bit easier. Let's see, moving on. The tags database function. This one's pretty powerful, kind of a power user type function. We've added 25 new built-in scripting functions specifically for the tags database. These allow you to add a tag, add a class, add alarms that are on tags, trend properties, things of that nature. A lot of new functions here that will allow you to edit and add tags and classes during runtime. So let's go give this a quick try out. I'll show you how to do this. The first thing that we have to do is use the begin edit, and then we can use these functions and then end the edit. So what I can do is add tags on the fly. So let's go give this a try. Let me go back to my runtime. I have that somewhere down here. Here we go. And I'll cancel this. And you can't do this on a button on a screen, but you can do it in any of the other server-based script areas. So let me go back to my startup script here, and I'm going to get rid of this that I used for the VB script just to clean it up a bit. Get rid of this. And now what I want to do is I want to do the tags database function. So before I get going, it's tags, TAGS, DB, and then I want to begin my edit. So I have to start this with this function, and because it's a function and because it's a built-in script I have to start it with the $ if I'm going to use it within the VB script area, and I have to end it with open and close parentheses. Unless I have any parameters in there, I can just use the open and close. Now I want to define what tags I want to create. So in this case, I'm going to do tags, db add, and you can see here this IntelliSense is working, so I can now choose from this list. So tags db add tag is what I want. And as I choose that, now when I open the parenthesis, you can see the IntelliSense prompts me for what's available. I can do the string tag, tag name that's a string, and then optionally I can define all the other parameters. If I don't define those, it's going to go back to default, which will be integer, 0 for the array size, no description, and server scope. So I'm just going to create a new tag here called my new tag. And before I run this, what you can see is I have one tag in here already, which is the visibility. And then the next thing that I need to do, I almost forgot, is tags db end edit. Need to make sure that I have that. And what I'm not doing in here is I'm not using any of the statuses that come back from this. You can get statuses to monitor if I forgot to add the begin edits, or if there were whatever the problems were, whatever the errors are, you're going to get error codes and be able to handle those appropriately. So just to make you aware that those are available, but I'm not using them here. So I'm going to add a tag called my new tag. And just one more quick thing to show you. Here currently in the tags database, I only have that visibility tag. So I'm going to save this and close this. And the next time I run, because that's set on the startup, that's going to go ahead and automatically create that tag, which I can then use in this application if I wanted to. Now here under the datasheet view, you can see I have my new tag with the default properties associated with that. Now I have two tags. So it gives you an overview of how that works. It's a pretty powerful feature. And here I've just hard-coded in my new tag inside of double quotes, but you could actually use a string tag and add new tags by changing the value of the string tag that was in here, and then add new tags, add new tags, add new tags. So you have the capability to add new tags on the fly, whatever you want to call those, and however you want to manage those. So that's kind of a very powerful, kind of a high-end feature that we've been asked for by our customers. XML Screen Import Toolkit. We're going to be able to import screens using a new tool, an import tool. And again, this is going to take shape as a toolkit. We've decided to provide this as a toolkit so that users can get the documentation that they need. It's going to come with support for that, and basically this is for advanced developers. We don't anticipate that the average user will be using this, but for those of you who are understanding of programming techniques, what this does is this uses an XML file format, which is text-based, to define screens. You can define all your objects and all the different attributes of a screen, how high it is, what the width is, what scripts are on that, and then import that using an import tool that we have. That's also going to come along with what's called an XML schema, which will kind of double check you on your formatting. If you, let's say, need to have the height and the width of the screen, it'll make sure that you have that or check you on that, and it will also let you know if you've got some optional things in there that you don't necessarily need to have. It'll let you go right on through without defining those optional things. So in addition to this import tool, we're also going to have an import function that will support importing screens from XML formats during runtime. Now this requires the development environment to be running on the same machine to support that. But I'm going to briefly show you the import tool. So what I've done here is I've before we started this webinar, I made this application called SP2 Webinar Afternoon, and I wanted to show you that I currently only have alarm and main screens in here. Now what I have in the project folder is the objects XML for a new screen that I'm going to import called objects. Now if we use the import function, we could have that in the screen folder or in the web subfolder, or we can point to whatever path we want to. But for this import tool, I'm just going to be able to navigate to it and find it. So what I'm going to do is make sure this is stopped, and now I'm going to go to our import tools, and here we have Studio XML screen. If I click on next, I can let it replace duplicates with imported screens or do not overwrite those. I'm going to browse to that file. Let's go up one here and look at that objects.xml. And I'm not going to show you the definitions of this because, again, if you purchase that toolkit, it'll come along with the documentation on how to format that XML file and, again, come along with support as well. So now, once I have that, I can click on Open. It will then let me know that it's bringing in and finished here. And now what you can see is I have that objects screen that it's brought in objects that we can define. Now this works with all objects, all different types of animations and everything that you can add to a screen. So we've done the entire set of things that you could put on a screen and define that in XML. So hopefully that's a nice new feature, but again, we think of it as kind of an advanced developers, and if you're interested in the toolkit, please contact an InduSoft representative for further information after or before, for that matter, when Service Pack 2 comes out. New drivers and tag integration and some additional interfaces revolving around that. Hopefully you guys have known that we have this feature called tag integration, and I'll show you a little bit about that. And we have really three new drivers. We have Schneider Unity Modbus, we have Automation Direct Koyo, and the PAC 3000, the Productivity 3000 from Automation Direct. So those are new drivers. Talk a little bit about tag integration. I'll come back to this screen in just a moment. So for most of you, you understand that to get to a driver, we can right-click on the drivers here, add remove drivers, and then add a necessary driver. What that essentially gives you is main driver sheets. Excuse me. Let me scroll down here to Modbus TCP, select and add, and say OK. Now what essentially this gives you is the main driver sheet and potentially standard driver worksheets that you can fill in the tag name, the IP address, and the IO address in the PLC. Well, instead of doing that, we've provided an additional way, and we've been doing this for a little while, and we're adding drivers to this as we can. Here under Project, under Communication, what you can do is use this feature called Tag Integration, and we're going to add, and right now we have in here TwinCat, CodeAssist, RSLogix 5000, which is a ControlLogix, Allen Bradley PLC 5, and Slick 500. Schneider Unity Modbus, Automation Direct Koyo, and PAC 3000 are in here now as well. Let me give you an example of tag integration using RSLogix, because what I'll do is I'll import one of their files here as well. Let's call this ABPLC1, and we'll add. Now what it does is it asks us for what is the IP address of that PLC. Maybe that's 127.0.0.2. and what slot number that is, and then it asks us for the L5K file. That's an export from the Rockwell RSLogix 5000 programming software. That's the Logic 5000 L5K. Hit Browse, and I'm just going to navigate to where I happen to have one of those files that I can bring in, and that's an L5K file. I'll bring that in, say OK, and now what it's done is it's added that to my project. And now, instead of typing tags, let's say, let me go back to my main screen, let's say here, if I wanted to put a bar graph on the screen, instead of getting my tags from the project, which would be from the driver, I now have the ability to get them from devices. So here now you can see is devices, ABPLC, and you can see that I've brought those in directly here. So let's see, did I bring in the right file? I might not have been brought in the right file. So let's see, do I have any that I brought in here? Devices, there we go. So this is showing me only imported tags, which I have not brought them all into my project yet. So I'm going to uncheck this, and you can see all these different tags that it brought in with that L5K file, but they're grayed out. I haven't associated any of those with my project yet. What I can do is if I want to pick and choose, I can hold down the control key or shift key and pick multiple of these, and then all at once import these selected tags, and that will bring in those tags and only those tags into my project. Notice my tag count down here is 2 right now. When I bring in these 3, I'm going to bring in these 3, and now my tag count is 5. So it's the 2 that I had previously. Now I brought these 3 in from that Allen Bradley PLC. And as I showed you before, here I can filter and show only imported tags just to see those, or I can see the entire list and do that as well. So that's a way we can show those with tag integration. So we have that. Again, that's here under Project Communication, and you would add those in here. Now those scan at 600 milliseconds just like the main driver sheet does as well. So those are new. And let's see, also in addition to that, we can add the tag integration tags in by doing the verify application. You can automatically do that. There are some limitations, some array-like names, and the provider name has to be the same when you're bringing in screens from other applications. Other than that, it works pretty darn well. Let's see, worksheet filtering. We can filter what you see in the column of worksheets. For those of you who are very familiar with our different interfaces, I'm going to add, let's see, we'll go here into Math Worksheet, Insert. I'll insert a few tags. We'll call it Temperature. We'll just simplify this. We'll call it Temp1. I'll create that as an integer. We'll create Temp2 and 3. And maybe level and pressure. And pressure set point. Okay, so now that I have all those in there, now using this filtering cell here at the top of the column, I can say, okay, I just want to see just the tags that begin with the letter T. So I can type the letter T, and it filters only those that begin with T. If I want to show only those that begin with P, I can see those. And I can also use wildcards as well. I can use star and point, let's say, and it'll only show the tag that has point in it. So I can use star, which means any tag, any character, and question mark. The asterisk means any series of characters, and the question mark means any single character. So you can use that to your advantage there, how to filter through those. So let's get rid of that and see all of our tags there. So that's the new worksheet filtering. That works. You can see this in any of the worksheets that we have. So if there's a scheduler, if it's an alarm worksheet that I looked at before, math worksheets, so anywhere there's worksheets in there, you can see those. Now, what I think everybody's been looking for is the enhancements to Studio Mobile Access. And show you what this is going to do for you here. Essentially, let's take a step back in history. Let me clean off the screen here a little bit. Let's take a step back in history. What we did a little while ago in InduSoft Web Studio, well, a long time ago, we actually had our first thin client called Web Thin Client. And the Web Thin Client allowed us to publish screens to Internet Explorer. Then we came out with Secure Viewer, which did not need Internet Explorer, but had a full screen of the application. You really can't tell that it's not the real runtime running. Then, a couple of years ago, what we added was what we now call Studio Mobile Access Tabular, which is the HTML1 version of the Mobile Access, which allows you to view the tags, the alarms, set points, and you can read and write, of course, with security built in. You can also add the comments when you acknowledge alarms, things of that nature. But that was all text-based. What we then did is we enhanced this and called it Mobile Access. And when we added Mobile Access, let me go ahead and open this up. What we did is we added the ability to add kind of a tree view in here, and then we added alarms, trend and process values, so you could see tags, how they would show up on the screen, whether or not they were read-writable, whether or not they were trended, and how you would see those. You did not actually see the live screens that you've developed within InduSoft Web Studio, but you could see the tag values in a circular gauge, semicircular gauge, horizontal gauge, switch, or text box as widgets on the screen. And we rapidly became aware that customers really liked this feature, and we got some feedback that said we'd really like to be able to see not only these are very powerful, but we'd like to see our screens as well. And oh, by the way, we don't want to have to fill out another one of these sheets just to develop all the screens. So can you make that happen for us? So here's what we've done. If I scroll down here a little bit more, we've added screens section, and you can choose from these screens here. What I'm going to do is publish these to HTML. So I'm going to click on Publish, save all as HTML. Guess what? I need to close this, and I'll come back in a moment and publish my screens as HTML. Now they're published. It says I need to enable the TCP/IP server. That's okay. And now it's published those screens as HTML. I'm going to go back into the mobile access. Now, when you install InduSoft Web Studio, you're going to get down at the lower portion of this, you'll probably get a message. If you don't have Microsoft IIS running, which is the web server, if you don't have it running, it'll let you know, hey, we couldn't install this because you don't have IIS, not just running, but installed on that PC. So you can either uncheck this checkbox, or you can then install Microsoft IIS after you've installed InduSoft, and then run a tool that we have, which is Mobile Access Setup.exe, which is in the bin folder, the BIN folder of the product. You do that after the fact as well. So once you've done that, now I've published these screens, I can go ahead and say screen, main, and I can give it whatever label I want to. We'll call this test main. And now, once I run my application, let's see, I have my main screen here. Let's make sure that there's some objects on here. I'll put some graphics. I'll put some lines. I'll put some open polygons on here. I'll put a closed polygon, and I'll fill that. I'll put, we already have some rectangles and other objects on here, but I think that's probably good enough for now. I'll go ahead and save this. And once I'm running this application, now that we have those extensions into, of course I'm not connecting to the PLC, what I can do is I can open up Chrome as a browser here and point to my IP address. And what that'll do is prompt me for security, and I can do guest. And now I'll see the menus for the alarms, the process values, and the trends, and new in this version is screens. And then it'll show me the list of screens that I have, and then I can see the objects on that screen. You can see here what I have. Now this could be, and I purposefully sized this so that it might look like it was on a cell phone or an iPad. This will show up on an iPad or a tablet, an Android, could be a desktop, and now you can use this to get access to your screens remotely. What does this support? This supports, let me go back up to this list, lines, open and close polygons, rectangles, rounded rectangles, ellipses, text box, single line only, buttons, the OS-like, checkbox, radio buttons, bitmaps, most of the animations, especially position and resize and rotation, the command animations, most of the command animations. The real nice thing that it uses the existing SMA license, so if you have the SMA license already, or the one that gets included with the runtime, you can go ahead and use that. List of supported browsers. We're hoping that this will work on every HTML5 browser that's out there. We've tested on Internet Explorer 10, Chrome, and Safari, so that we can use those. Chrome is available on Android, Safari is available on iPads, and Internet Explorer 10 and Chrome are available on desktops as well. That's what I just used. So just to show you real quickly, I'm going to stop my runtime here of this project and just show you what this can do. What I did before I started the webinar is I opened up the PC demo application that comes with InduSoft Web Studio, and I saved all my screens, published them as HTML, and then I just went into the thin client mobile access, and on a couple of these tabs here, I added, so for example, here under main, I made sure that the animation screen was there, and then I went under the industries and made sure that I could see the automotive screen and the wind power. And that's all I really had to do is select those. Now when I run this, I can run PC demo, and I don't have to be on the same screen. Let's show this. Let me close this test server here and open up Chrome. Now I'll go back and log off and come back in and view this application here. Should get prompted for that again. Let me put this a little bit more in the center of the screen so we can see this. I'll refresh this. And now I'll get prompted for security again. Well, at least I think I will here. We're waiting for this to respond. Let me close this and reopen Chrome here. Give this a chance to catch up with itself. And 192. All right, so now it's going to ask me for my password, username. I'm just going to log in as guest. And now I'm connecting to this demo application that's running here. And once I do this, now I can get at all the information from this demo application that I've set up on those tabs. So let's see here. Logging in. Now this is a fairly sizable application, but here we go. Coming in, now I can get at screens and I can get at animations and that will load up. And I'm going to click off of this and just show features, animations. Here's the screen. Come back to Google Chrome here, and once this loads up, you will be able to see this exact same screen as it exists here. So usually this is faster. I'm not sure what's going on. It might be that I'm on the WebEx and taking up some resources here. Give this a second here. And go back. Give this one more try here. And close this and try opening it again in Chrome. There we go. Now that we have this, we have screens, animations, and this should just pop right on up in here. While I'm waiting for that, there's been a couple of other questions that have come in. Is there a timeline for having tag integration? And somebody asked for a specific driver. I'm not going to answer that specific question, but if you want to know more about tag integration, timelines for specific drivers, please contact us directly at info@indusoft.com. Let me go back here and try one more thing. Let's do this one more different way here. I'm going to go into the automotive screen, let's say, here under Industries, go under Automotive, and now I'll try to bring up Chrome, go to my IP address, and let's see here. Let's go here under Industries, and let's see, let me make sure that I'm running my application here, and I'll go on to the automotive screen, and now here in this automotive, and now you can see that this application is running that same screen. Now that could be on your tablet or your phone or a remote web browser on a PC as well. Let me go back, and I'll also go to this screen here, wind energy, and I'll bring this up again and go to the wind screen. And now you can see the screen that looks exactly the same. So it affords you some very nice looking screens with not having to redevelop those And that's all you have to do is publish to HTML and add those to your remote application. Let me go back one more time and try this feature in here with animations. See if we can't. There we go. There's the animations features. Come back and you can see that the bar graphs, the colors, the text. You can even click on these and bring up an input, and on your tablet or phone that would give you the pop-up keyboard as well. And you can see the visibility and the resize and the position as well, and hyperlinks and buttons as well. So that looks just like that without having to do any additional screen development on there. So okay, so that's pretty much all that I wanted to show you about Service Pack 2. And hopefully everybody's looking forward to it, and you learned something from this webinar. If there's any questions, please feel free to add those to the chat windows or the Q&A window. Let's see. Question is, it's been a while since I've used a browser for this. Does this have full interaction as well? What you can do, and let me go back here, is you can have animations that are the set tag, the reset tag, I'm sorry, I clicked, the set tag, the reset tag, toggle tag, open screen, and on, down, and on up events. Now notice that if you're very familiar with the command animation, there's no built-in script or VB script in here. So you can set tags and reset tags, but you can't run scripts on this. What you could do is, by setting tags and resetting tags, use those in worksheets to be able to set off math worksheets, let's say, or VB script background tasks, background scripts. So in a sense, yeah, it could work with full interaction, but today we have a limited set of the animations, and we plan on expanding this in future versions as we go on. So hopefully that answers that question. Some more questions are, can it receive a data string? I'm not sure what that means. Since we can show text on the screen, and text could be a string type value, or even you could show text in a rectangle if you wanted to. You should be able to see data strings on those as well. Hopefully that answers that. Data storage on the remote device. Now for thin clients, we're typically getting the information from the server, but there are some things that you can do to copy them to the local device, but those are more kind of power user functions than built-in functions, so you'd have to do that manually. So hopefully that answers those questions. Let's see, I don't think I've missed any. Let's see. Oh, just a good point brought up by one of our developers, that in addition to not only the screens, but you can also see here in mobile access, you can see the tag values, and you can also have those trended as well. So those would be trended, and those would be trended on the server, but be able to see those locally. So that's maybe something that you'd like to do. Question, is there any improvement for the SMA gadgets? For example, like a push button. Today the gadgets, I think as we have planned, only have these type widgets, which are these 5, the circular gauge, semicircular, horizontal, the switch, which would work for Boolean. The gauges that we have will allow read and write. You can click on the gauge and move the needle, or type into a box that will allow you to change values. But today there's no improvement, no additional widgets planned. We're planning on enhancing this with real screens, so hopefully that helps you out. And you can also create your own link symbols and use those from the library as well, so that might help you out to use those in your own screen. So since you can now see screens, you can work with your work with the symbols from the link symbol library. So that's a good point. Okay, so let's see, any more questions here? Question would be, would there be a way to have different screens shown depending on the type of device? I don't know if that means if it's let's say it's an iPad, or a different screen showed on an Android. I know we can do a lot of different things and show different screens based on IP address or based on computer name. I know that locally we can detect, there's a built-in function for the OS, and I don't know if that will work on remote devices. That's a good question, and for the person that asked that, I'm going to try to get back to you on that. Let's see. Okay. Interesting thing brought up by one of our developers is that you could create separate areas or separate screens, and you could have some for iPads and some for Android, and just only go to those screens that are necessarily using the navigation. So that might be a way to do it. So we've gone a little bit over, about 15 minutes over or so. I really appreciate everybody joining. I don't see any new questions coming in. Hopefully you've seen some new features in here that you'll be able to take advantage of in Service Pack 2. And again, it'll be available in just a couple of weeks. Not exactly sure of the release date, but a couple of weeks, give or take, a week or two. And we look forward to you attending more webinars. Let us know how the webinars went, and if you have any feedback when you get the survey form, let us know how the webinars are going, and if you give us your name and address and your shirt size, we'll send you a free t-shirt just for attending the webinar. Thank you for attending. We really appreciate it, and we look forward to having you on more webinars in the future. So thank you, and have a great day.